This is just a very simple program to show how one can read data into a rich text box from a file on disk, and how you can then save data that you've put in a rich text box to a file on disk. I've already created the form, so what we have are two buttons, a load button and a save button, and a rich text box. And when we run the program, we will click on the load button to load data into the rich text box. Then we can edit the text and click on save to save it back to the text file. I need two more controls on the form to open and save the files, and that is the open file dialog and the save file dialog. So I'm just going to call the open file dialog OFD open, and the save file dialog I'll call SFD load. Okay, one other thing that I've done is the save button's enabled property I've set to false, as you can see there. So when the form comes up, the save button will be disabled. Once we've loaded data into the rich text box, we will enable the save button. Okay, so let's write the event handler for the load event for the load button first. Okay, so firstly, we're going to call up the open file dialog. I hate it when I do that. Let me just correct the name. Just change that P to a small p. Okay, so open file dialog open, show dialog. So this is the first thing that will happen when the user clicks on that load button. It will immediately open up the open file dialog. The user will then go and search for the file. Note that it must be a rich text file, so the extension must be RTF, not TXT. So you have to go and create a rich text file with the data that you want to load into the rich text box first. So I'm just quickly going to show you, so you can use any word processor. I'm just going to use Microsoft Word, and then you can type some lines. Okay, and you say file, save as, and it's really important here that you choose rich text format. Okay, and then you select your folder, wherever you want to go and save it, and you just click save. I've already created one, so I'm not going to create another one now. The important thing is that it must be a rich text format, so you have to use save as. Right, now the user has selected the file. Then we want to load data into the rich text box. So we're going to say rich text box, load file, and then in brackets we must give the path to the file that we have chosen. So because we're using an open file dialog, we can just use the file name property of the open file dialog. We could also have given a string here that is the complete path to where the file is. But obviously that makes it easier to make a mistake. It's much better to use the open file dialog. Right, and this is the whole program, or the whole event handler. If I run the program now, I have already created a file called exercises. So I'm going to click on load. Then it opens up the open file dialog. Then I'm going to search for my IMF154 folder 2017 lecture 9. And there I have a file called exercise 1, and I'm going to open that file. and it loads the text that's in that file. Okay, what I did not do, that I should have done, is to enable the save button in that event handler as well. So let me just quickly go do that. So once I've loaded the data, I want to say button save dot enabled is equal to true. Okay, so I'm now going to run it again. Okay, load and exercises, and there you can see the save button has now become enabled. Right, so next we have to write the event handler for the save button. In this case we're going to call the save file log. So this will show the open or the save file dialog. We will select or provide a name and a location, and then we will just use that with the save file method. Okay, and again we say sfd load file name, and that's it. Right. So again, I can load exercise 1 into. Now we can add data here, 5, 6, 7, and then save. And then I can go and save it in that same file, and it will ask me, do you want to replace it? And I say yes. Okay, I'm just going to close the program and run it again. So if I now load it, you will see it has now added the lines when I saved the content previously. Just one thing, just a small thing that will make your program slightly more usable. When you save the file, there's nothing to tell the user that the data has now been saved. So it would actually be nice to just let a message box pop up saying data saved, something like that. If I now run it and I load the data, okay, let's delete a few lines and I save. Okay, I say yes, overwrite, and now it gives you a message, data saved. Just one small thing, now that I've gone through the whole video, I realized that I gave the save file dialog a very unfortunate name. I wasn't thinking properly, so it would have made more sense to call the save file dialog SFD text or SFD save for that matter. I'm not going to change the whole thing now, but just note that this is not the best choice of name for the save file dialog.